Chapter 5, Lesson 3, Egypt's Empire. Before we begin the reading, I'm going to read through the questions. Number 2, who pays tributes and why? Number 3, how were the Egyptians able to defeat the Hyksos? Number 4, what was unusual or special about Queen Hatshepsut? Number 5, why did the Egyptians want to trade with the Phoenicians? Number 6, what was Hatshepsut's rule different from that of Thutmose III? Number 7, how did ancient Egypt change under Amenhotep IV? Number 8, why are Akhenaten and Tutankhamun considered unusual pharaohs? Number 9, what were the accomplishments of Ramses II? Number 10, you're going to drag the red box over the groups that took over Egypt after its decline. Check for understanding box. List one accomplishment for each pharaoh. Number 1, Ahmose. Number 2, Hatshepsut. 3, Thutmose III. 4, Amenhotep IV. 5, Tutankhamun. And number 6, Ramses II. Back to the reading. A Golden Age. The Middle Kingdom lasted from about 2055 BC to 1650 BC. It was a time of power, wealth, and achievement for Egypt. During the Middle Kingdom, Egypt took control of new lands. The pharaoh required tribute or payments from the conquered peoples. The pharaoh used this wealth to build dams and improve farmlands. The pharaoh also built a canal between the Nile River and the Red Sea. During the Middle Kingdom, arts and architecture grew more popular. Painters covered tombs and temples with colorful scenes. Sculptors created large carvings of the pharaohs, which showed the pharaohs as ordinary people. Pharaohs had their tombs cut into cliffs. The Middle Kingdom ended when nobles tried to take power from the pharaohs. The fight weakened Egypt, making it easy to conquer. Outsiders, known as the Hyksos, invaded from Western Asia. The Hyksos' army rode in chariots and used weapons made of bronze and iron. The Egyptians had copper and stone weapons that could not stop the invaders. The Hyksos ruled Egypt for about 100 years. During that time, the Egyptians learned how to make and use Hyksos weapons. Around 1550 BC, an Egyptian prince named Ahmose formed an army and drove the Hyksos out of Egypt, building an empire. Ahmose's rule began an era known as the New Kingdom. From 1550 BC to 1070 BC, Egypt grew richer and more powerful. Most pharaohs focused on bringing other lands under their control. About 1473 BC, a queen named Hatshepsut came to power. First, she ruled with her husband. After he died, she made herself pharaoh and ruled for her young nephew. She became the first woman to rule Egypt by herself. Hatshepsut used trade to expand the empire. During her rule, Egyptians traded beads, metal tools, and weapons for gold, ivory, and ebony wood. Traders also brought incense, a material burned for its pleasant smell. One important trading partner was Phoenicia. The Phoenicians lived on the Mediterranean. They had their own alphabet and system of writing. The Phoenicians traded goods all over the ancient world. New kingdom rulers also sent envoys or representatives to other rulers. This was the first time in history that a group of nations worked together in this way. When Hatshepsut died, her nephew, Thutmose III, became pharaoh. Thutmose expanded the empire through war. His armies extended the northern border of Egypt. His troops also took back control of Nubia, which had broken free from Egypt. The empire grew rich. It took gold, copper, ivory, and other goods from conquered peoples. Egypt also enslaved prisoners of war. However, it did let enslaved people own land, marry, and gain their freedom. Hatshepsut expanded Egypt through trade, was the first woman to rule Egypt. Thutmose III expanded Egypt through war, made Egypt rich with gold and valuables from other kingdoms. Two unusual pharaohs. About 1370 BC, Amenhotep IV came to the throne. He and his wife Nefertiti tried to lead Egypt in a new direction. The pharaohs were losing power to the priests, so Amenhotep IV started a new religion. People would worship only one god, called Aton. When the priests protested, Amenhotep IV removed many from their positions. He seized their land and closed their temples. He changed his name to Akhenaten, or Spirit of Aton. He began ruling Egypt from a new city. Most Egyptians refused to accept Aton as the only god. They still worshipped many gods. The priests of the old religion were unhappy about losing their power. Army leaders believed Akhenaten was so devoted to his new religion that he did not do his job as a pharaoh. Outside invaders took most of Egypt's lands in Western Asia. When Akhenaten died, his son-in-law took the throne. The new pharaoh, Tutankhamun, was only 10 years old. With help from officials and priests, he quickly restored the old religion. After 9 years, Tutankhamun suddenly died. In 1922, Howard Carter, a British archaeologist, unearthed Tutankhamun's tomb and all his treasures. The boy king and his riches fascinated people living in the modern world. He became known around the world as King Tut. Recovery and decline. The most successful leader during the New Kingdom was Ramses II. Ramses II came to power in 1279 BC. He took back much of the territory lost by earlier pharaohs. He fought the Hittites in what is now Turkey and signed peace treaties. The Hittites and the Egyptians agreed to keep peace between them. They agreed to fight together if an enemy attacked one another. Under Ramses II and other kingdom leaders, many temples were built. The most magnificent temple was Karnak at Thebes. Karnak still impresses visitors today. Ramses II's accomplishments: regained lost lands for Egypt, signed peace treaties, built temples. The Egyptians believed that their gods and goddesses lived in the temples. Priests and priestesses served the gods by leaving food for them and by washing their statues. Temples also served as banks. Egyptians stored valuables such as gold jewelry in them. After Ramses II, Egypt's power faded. Egypt was attacked by groups with more and better weapons. By 1150 BC, Egypt ruled only the Nile Delta. It's a small area. Starting in 900 BC, one outside group after another took over Egypt. These outside groups included the Libyans, the people of Kush, and the Assyrians from Mesopotamia. Be sure to go back and answer the questions in the blue boxes. and to look back in the reading for help.